Hey everyone, my name is Rooster, and welcome back to Mechabellum. In today's video, it's going to be a 2v2 replay for you guys, and there's a good reason for this. Tomorrow, on Sunday, there will be a Bazaar x Mechabellum event, featuring 4 of the best Bazaar players teaming up with 4 of the best Mechabellum players, and, well, I'm lucky enough that I will be participating myself with my teammate Raresh. And in this video, I'm going to be facing against a different team, Jota and Cast. My teammate for the 2v2 is Chemtrails, who is a very strong Mechabellum player as well. It's not my teammate for the event, but yeah, we were happy enough to basically give them a bit of a scrim partner as they wanted to practice some of their 2v2. Now, the reason I am showing you guys this replay is because it also features one of the new techs, Entrenchment on Sabertooth, and I think that tech is very powerful. It's conditional, however, because you basically can only play it if you can ensure that your sabers always have something to shoot at. And that means that it basically only will see play when the opponent is pushing into you with a constant stream of units, or you happen to be in a headbutt. In those two scenarios, I think it is almost always worth clicking Entrenchment, just because you get such a crazy amount of stats for very, very little investment. Now, in this particular game, I picked up a Sledgehammer Marksman pack. We are on Compact. I think on Compact, typically, it is a bit easier to defend because there's just less options for the enemies in terms of pushing because the map is smaller. And yeah, it makes stacking like this a lot easier. Pushing in the middle, in my opinion, is very, very hard to pull off. So that's why we stack on the right. 2 fangs in front and back of the tower. Now, you might wonder, why am I buying fangs here? The main reason is because my opponent started with Arclights. If they started with Hounds, I would pick Crawler because Hounds can't one-shot Crawler at equal level. But long term here, Fangs should be a bit better against the Arclights. They won't run in and die instantly, and they basically just trickle through and provide distraction for longer than the Crawlers would. So that's kind of that idea. My teammate Chemtrails is an aerial spec. I am an Amplify specialist, hence the Amplify cores on my Sledgehammers. And yeah, we have Steel Balls, Arclights, defensive setup here versus Steel Ball Crawler from Cast. And my opponent, Jota, is a Marksman specialist, and then Cast, a Rhino specialist. So yeah, here we go. We have a very good setup here from Jota, I would say. Aggressive, right? You can put your units a bit further up when they're in the corner because this diagonal is a longer distance, and you can work together with the flank as well to protect this unit. So even though it looks like it may be exposed, I do like this type of setup. I would probably put my crawlers slightly off from the line because, or the flank rather, because now, you know, you could get in trouble if I decide to put something over there and instantly shoot at the crawlers, but that's a minor thing. Overall, Jota, very, very powerful player. Hasn't played Mechabellum in a while, but used to be one of the strongest, really. And in fact, one of the players that I learned from back when I started playing. So yeah, it's going to be a strong matchup regardless here of the hiatus. Now, my marksmen do a great job. My setup here is very nice. Sledgehammers are lovely against saber starts. It just, you know, takes a while for the sabers to get through. You buy some time, and starting with triple marksman, I actually have enough DPS to kill the sabers, which can sometimes be a little bit of a concern on round 1 if you don't start with DPS. And round 1 here looks like both of us will manage to win, so very happy about that. I'm not going to look too much at what my teammate and Cast are doing. I will sometimes maybe briefly kind of look over, but I think covering 2 games at once is probably a little bit too much, and I have enough things to talk about on my side of the field. Wasp Swarm gets picked up here. We can actually have a look at these cards to see what was offered. Shield Airdrop, something that you could consider too. I decided to go for the more aggressive option. In fact, all 3 of us do here. Jota, me, and Chemtrails. And Cast goes for the cheap mobile beacon. Not a bad pickup either, especially for his way of playing. He's aggressive, and the mobile beacon that comes from the card is 50 cheaper than the one on the tower. So you do get a little bit of profit there. Wasp in the middle here. I decided to add a Fang in the middle because I was a bit afraid that he would try and, you know, Wasp drop somewhere over here or even, you know, over there. So this Fang should be able to cover. We do have the walls as well to protect a little bit. And both me and my ally decide to go for a Wasp there in the back of Jota's board. This is maybe considered bullying at this point. I don't know. But I will say Jota does a decent job here of trying to defend it. Now, when you try to defend this type of wasp with crawlers, you can. This middle crawler should do the trick, but this one typically has to be all the way up against the flank, because if you put it anywhere off the flank, it will basically go too close to the tower when it's pathing, and the wasps that are following it will end up turning to kill said tower. So yeah, Fang here on the flank, not the most useful thing, I think, on round 2. Of course, I do put 2 arc lights down for chaff clear, and I am expecting this type of thing to come through usually, so that's why my arc light is positioned where it is. But I think you don't need to do this instantly when you're playing aggressive. It's quite unlikely that I will punish you for putting the saber in the corner and try and get an insta-lock, because it's just hard to do. So yeah, I wouldn't do that, but long term it will be somewhat useful. The wasps do end up getting the tower here. On the left, looks like my ally is still doing pretty well. He manages to get rid of the arc light, still has some fangs left, so this will be a victory once again for the blue team. And yeah, here we go. Fangs clean up the board, and we're gonna deal 3,000, or we're gonna put the enemy team rather down to 3,600 already. Not bad at all. And here we have round number 3. We can have a look at the cards. They are unit drops. In this case, I mean, Wasp is always something you should consider, but both Mustang and Typhoon are offered. And I honestly felt like Wasp wasn't going to get picked because of that. Plus, I already have Fangs, so I wasn't too afraid. And I really thought, you know, Yota would pick the Mustang here, if you compare it to the other drops. So I was pretty happy to just pick up the Typhoon and then plan to sell it long term. But I could go for a bit of a flank myself here and try to see how much I could kill. Immediate range on the Mustang from Yota. I mean, if you're going to play Mustang and you plan to keep them, it is oftentimes just a good thing to immediately range them, because otherwise they might start feeding. And yeah, level 2 Mustang does give away a lot of experience. Left side, we have a crawler here from my ally, an arc light in front of the tower as well. You don't need to overly defend this middle, you know, just a few like 100 cost deployments, especially when you have walls there. You could just kind of wait and see what your opponents do. If they end up pushing there, you can start adding units, but it is usually rather easy to try and pull stuff away if they're trying to push middle, or to, you know, keep using oil and rotate between you and your ally, putting down oil and constantly slowing whatever is coming in there. Now, I go for double Sabertooth myself. The reason was I wanted to try that entrenchment tech, and well, I knew that Yota wasn't currently running it. So yeah, I could guarantee that this was going to be, you know, a little bit of an offset in a potential mirror. Let's see how things go here. Sabertooth in a great spot. I was very happy with that. Manages to lock onto the enemy Saber instantly and take it out. On the left, we're stalling a good amount. There is a high-level marksman there from that marksman specialist from last round, which is a little bit scary because, as you can see, it does deal a good amount of damage, one-shotting sledgehammers, arc lights, and dealing a lot of damage to my sabers as well. I'm kind of running out of chaff clear here, so a lot closer around. Middle also struggling now. There is a range on the arc lights for cast, which is making a bit of a difference, although the left side is still winning for chemtrails. So overall, very close round. I do have a few marksmen left, so we should be able to win this. And yeah, it's just a singular arc light remaining now. A couple of crawlers that we have to get rid of, but we will be able to do so. And we get a win. Things have slowed down, definitely. We're not dealing as much damage as we were in the previous rounds, but a win is a win. And I was still in the process of setting up my board, right? I would like range on my arc lights. I would like entrenchment. I would like to pick up that level. And also, there is a rhino available now. And I was a bit afraid that maybe it would get used to push in here. So I also kind of wanted to put a saber to help out my teammate on the left side. Round number 4, Efficient Giant Manufacturing gets picked up by chemtrails. And both Yota and Cast here decide to go for the photon coating. As for me, I was debating whether I wanted to go quick teleports, because again, there is like some stuff that you can potentially abuse by putting something over here, like a sledgehammer. But I already had a Typhoon spawned in, and I felt like, you know, it might not be worth picking up the card. It is cheap. I think picking it, not picking it are both fine. I think in the end here, I decided to just skip, and that way I can get entrenchment, I can get range on my arc lights, I can pick up the level, I can buy another saber here on the left. And I mean, at this point, the only downside, I guess, is that I don't have any crawlers, which I would love. I mean, 3 crawlers would be very nice to have. It's something I am still looking to pick up, but this was a powerful round, right? I added another arc light in the middle as well. I got 2 techs on round 4, so yeah, it's logical that we're missing out on some stuff. And here, you know, usually I would say rule of thumb is 5 packs of chaff. I have 4, but I also have 2 sledgehammers, and sledgehammers kind of double down as a form of chaff because they're tanks. So I think we're honestly quite fine here. Sabertooth, again, instantly locks on that entrenchment tech, right? 50% bonus hit points, 20 bonus range, and the attack interval decreases by 20%. So 2.7 attack interval versus 3.4. That is a massive, massive buff, right? Like, we are talking about 0.7 attack interval reduction. That is basically mech rage on some units. I think mech rage on hounds gives 0.8. And, I mean, that tech costs 300 by itself, whereas this is 200 and you get all of those other bonus stats. Obviously, you don't get the benefit of them if your Sabertooth leaves the trench. And, well, with a double Stormcaller pickup here for Yota, he does manage to win, and my Sabers, well, don't stay in their barricades. Now, one way to solve this would be to go for something like range enhancement, but I am looking to get some other stuff here as well. We have Underground Threat. I decide to instantly pick it. It's a bit too late for Super Supply, especially in 2v2. Games tend to go a bit quicker, so you do not want to pick this on round 5 in my opinion. Advanced Power System, very solid. Cast picks it. I think maybe Yota should pick it as well, although having said that, he's kind of transitioned his board from being aggressive to a more mid-rangey, longer range board, so maybe speed isn't that important for him. The Underground Threat I'm going to put on the top, kind of to mess with these Mustangs and buy some time for my Typhoons to perhaps kill more stuff. And I decided to go for Missile Interceptor first on my Sabers because of these enemy Stormcallers, and I felt like, well, this might be a game where I just get to, you know, buy every single tech on the Sabers. It does make range a lot more expensive, and I probably will need it, but I mean, I can just start spamming Sabers from here on out. They have insane amounts of stats because of the techs that we picked up, and they're good into almost everything, right? Not into the chaff, but I have arc lights to cover for that. One more arc light on the left to help out against the enemy chaff, because they did add a Mustang last round. More Stormcallers now being picked up. If you look on the left, pretty standard board, right? Chaff, arc lights, and some starter units, plus the Mustang from the unit drop. We have a deep flank for both players, very common stuff. This is just extremely powerful. Sledge with an offset crawler. That way you pull as many of the enemy units, and the crawler still protects against the missile. And yeah, oil being used now to slow things down. Classic stuff. And right side, things are still looking pretty good. This time around though, my Sabertooth doesn't immediately lock onto the enemy Saber, but it doesn't do too much damage, and now we managed to take it out. Left side looked like my Sabers were struggling perhaps a little bit, and well, now that they leave the trench, of course they do get rid of all of those bonuses, and it still looks like we're struggling a little bit. Main problem here again is that I don't have a ton of chaff, right? Ideally I would have 3 more crawlers, and I think that would make my life a lot easier, but sadly I don't have it. I lose the right side. The left side also is lost by my ally, and suddenly things are looking a little bit scary, as we will dip down below 2.5k hit points. So Yota and Chemtrails, or Yota and Cast rather, turning things around very effectively in the past couple of rounds. Here we are, more unit reinforcements arrive. Sandworm gets picked up by both me and Cast. It's a very solid unit. You could try and pick up something like Fortress if you're expecting it. It is, you know, somewhat of a counter. But Sandworm is just nice, and I felt like I needed, you know, more distraction because I didn't have a ton of chaff. So in this case, tanks can also be a substitute for crawlers, just to buy yourself some more time. Plus, Sandworm should be very good into these longer range units, right? Very good into Mustang, very good into Stormcaller, pretty good into Marksman and Arclight as well. So I don't mind going for it whatsoever. The Wasp is back as well. This time around, I will simply put it on my main board. And I will buy 2 more Sandworms and click Mechanical Division, again, to create more chaff. I'm also going to line them up somewhat with the enemy units here. So one in the middle where there's very little to protect. I kind of expected Jota to pick up the fortress. And I thought if he picks it up, he might try and put it kind of on the right where the rest of his units are. So if I can avoid that fortress and try to attack here, maybe even attack the left tower, I should be fine. Notice how we are also kind of staircasing, right? This one is a bit further back. There's no point having it super far up because then it will just die before all of my units can be part of the fight. And now we have range and overload on my on Jota's Stormcallers. Kind of ironic that we see that again, since my previous video was about that double tech as well. But I really do think it has, you know, spots where it can be useful. And in this case, the overload will definitely overwhelm my 3 sabers. So let's see how things go. Of course, I do have the worms, but sadly, one of them gets stuck. The beacon is not exactly perfect, and the worm from cast manages to just get 3 hits on it. So that is slightly problematic. My Sabertooth also here has left the trench. Here, same thing is happening. Most of the sabers have either left the trench or died, and it does not look that good for us. 2.5k hit points. We do have to make sure that we kill at least an okay amount of units. And on the left, we have an Overlord defense from Chemtrails, who did pick up the Efficient Giant, and he is an aerial spec. Now, I will say, I don't think it's worth picking up Efficient Giant if you're planning to go into Overlords, because you need to buy 4 Giants for that card to pay off, and it's gonna be pretty late into the game by the time you manage to get 5 Overlords, or 4 Overlords. So, yeah, I would generally just not pick it, because you're gonna basically be down 150 resources for, you know, most of the early and mid game. And 150 resources means a lot more at that stage of the game than, you know, the couple of 50 bonus resources you might get on round 7 or 8 or 9. So, yeah, a little bit of a, you know, I guess tip there for you guys that love picking that card. It can be useful, but try to think about, you know, when are you going to be completing basically the little mini quest that comes with that type of a card. Orbital Bombardment shows up on round 7. You absolutely have to pick that, especially considering the other cards. Cast goes for Intensive Training, which I'm somewhat surprised about. I think you absolutely have to go for the spell. It's just a must pick at this stage of the game, especially on my side. If I manage to break his shields, then the Stormcallers will all just die to it, right? And, well, I decided to pick up more Sabers, because I was like, maybe I can intercept all of the Stormcallers if he doesn't add more, and I expect him to buy more Fortresses because I bought triple Sandworm, and he kind of needs to answer that. So, more Sabers it is. I go for range enhancement as well. That way I make sure that my Sabers stay in the trench, and I benefit from the stats a bit more. The scary thing still is that most of my Sabers are level 1, right? So they have a lot of range, 150. But, you know, they're level 1, so the damage is not amazing. I could struggle potentially taking care of the fortresses here. And Jota stacks them all kind of on the right side. Doesn't defend the left tower that much. I think that's a perfectly fine thing to do. You know, it did seem like Cast's units were sufficient to try and stop this worm from getting in. We are, of course, loaning. I decided to beacon my worm towards the left. I kind of wanted it to work together with this Overlord from my ally. And yeah, look at that. 4 Overlords now. So the card has paid off, and Chemtrails has made 50 resources. Again, I would argue that on round 7, that's not really worth it, but he has made the card work. And here we go. Storm. Now, the one problem is my Sabertooth instantly locks on to his shield. And so because the shield instantly goes down, all of the stuff inside it is now vulnerable to the orbital. And worse than that, everything dies. And this looks a lot better, right? My Sabers also have a massive range advantage over the fortresses, and it looks like we should be able to at least come out ahead. Left side is looking great too. The Overlords now have the classic double tech, right? Launcher overload and range, and, well, they are crushing. Right side is a bit closer, but I still have all of my Sabers alive, or at least most of them. They managed to intercept whatever's left of the Stormcallers on the right, and we do finish those off. If we do the tally now, I mean, 4 Overlords plus a whole bunch of medium-sized units, it will barely be enough to get the victory. So yeah, a triple tech entrenchment game. I think it is a very good tech, and I enjoyed trying that out. I think here it looked very good. A little bit iffy in the mid game. I mean, the opponents played very well. I think I will briefly maybe try out something different for Yota. Because, I mean, one slight problem is like the shields, right? Getting instantly targeted, which is something you should be a little bit wary of. I will go for the orbital here. I will go for 2 more fortresses. We can sell this. I will probably just put that on a fortress as well. And then temp range. Oh, I do not want that. Temp range. Go for the shields. Put these like as far back as possible, right? Because the main thing I'm trying to protect is the Stormcallers. And then I will just buy a Fang right here to tank some shots from this Saber so that it doesn't lock onto the shield. Now we're basically done. Although, well, range on the fortresses, I guess, is nice. And I will level up this Mustang from level 1 to level 2 because it's the biggest kind of difference. Could level up that one as well. Maybe that's better. And yeah, that's pretty much it. An alternative play here could be to put this fortress over here. But let's say that we played it safe, right? Let's say that we played it safe and put it somewhere over here. And then we can have a look at how this goes. It should be better, in theory. Ranked on the fortresses, a bit safer. And as you can see now, the shield is indeed safe, right? The Sabers don't instantly kill it, so everything that's inside is completely safe. Although, it broke at the very last second. That's not ideal. Some of the units inside still do survive, though. So it's marginally better, I guess. The fortresses should also be able to at least fight back somewhat against the Sabers, even though the Sabers have more range. But the level 1s don't have a ton of damage available, and once they come out of the entrenchment, they lose all of those extra stats. Okay, it's very, very close. Looks like it is still a loss. I think there is probably a way of getting out of this victorious, although of course I can't really make up for the right side winning. But I think left side you can win. It kind of comes down to whether that shield like gets popped or not, right? I think here at the very end the shield popped and then 2 Stormcallers with double tech died. If you have those, you probably still end up ahead. And then maybe they would have stayed alive if yeah, we have these. I think, in fact, here even they stay alive, right? Back to watch replay. Yeah, they would have been alive. So I guess it's a marginal improvement. I know that you can win this, but again, it kind of comes down to what happens with that shield and how the orbital hits. Either way, if you liked this video, please leave a thumbs up and leave it down in the comments below what you thought about it and have you played with the new entrenchment tech. Be sure to check out the event that's happening tomorrow at 1 p.m. Central European time. I think it'll be a lot of fun. So yeah, if you want to see me play live, go check me out on Twitch. That being said, take care, guys, and see you in the next video. Bye-bye.